What did you find out about this offensive line the last 3 days in pads for the first time? Anything stand out?
Well, I thought just the resilience of the group. We had a few guys go down, as is the nature of training camp, and guys stepped in, didn't bat an eye, worked when they had to. And the great thing about that is when you get off the field, you have this huge kind of laxed feel because you put your work in, and then we can make the adjustments and feel free to run it and fly around, make mistakes because we're just trying to get better. And I think this group does a very good job of that.
I was going to say, early impressions of the run game. I mean, I know, like I said, it's really early.
Yeah. Well, I think they know what they want to run, and the nice thing is they're going to stick to it, and that gives us the freedom to ask questions, work on the techniques that they want, not be afraid to make mistakes out here so that we can correct those in the film room. We can have open dialogue, talk about what we see, what we like, what we don't like, and then at least no matter what, we're all on the same page. So I think just sticking to that, it's not going to be pretty every day. It might not be pretty early on in games, but just to have the confidence in the fact that hopefully we can continue to call those even if they aren't hitting at first, so we can make those in-game adjustments or those sideline adjustments and not ride a roller coaster at times.
As an offensive line, can you ever be sure until the regular season starts?
There's a lot of things you're not sure about until the regular season starts. You don't know who's going to be suiting up. You don't know who's going to be healthy for week one or whatnot, or there's so many unknowns, right? But it gives you the confidence when week one comes that you've banked reps, that you've seen most every look, that you've talked about it, that we're all five on the same page, or even Trevor or the backs are on the same page, so that when stuff comes up and we have to make adjustments in game or we get strange looks, like we've seen it before, and they might get us once, but we can make those adjustments and not panic.
Between OTAs and camp, a couple dozen practices with Trevor so far, what's been your impressions just working with him?
Yeah, I think just the confidence in the huddle. And it's not like it's not like a standoffish confidence or anything like that. If anyone knows Trevor, that's not him, right? It's just he's got a little moxie about him. I think it's just he's well aged past the age of 24, 25. Like his confidence in the play call, his confidence in commanding what he wants in the huddle or on the line of scrimmage, it permeates to the rest of the guys. Like everyone feels that. So when you have a guy like that who's a steady presence at that position, but when he needs to open up and have a little swagger about him, he does. That's what you need in a quarterback.
We always talk about the continuity along the offensive line, building chemistry with the same group. Obviously, with guys banged up this part of camp, can't get done. But when does that really have to be all five together? Is that really like the week before? Or?
Yeah, I don't know if it's fair to put a specific timeline on this is when you have to have something. This is football, man. You know what I mean? Like rarely are you going to have that five work together from the start of camp through the end of February or whenever your season ends, right? So for us, we have to understand that in games, people might go down. There might be a switch up of things. So it actually is nice right now to have the confidence working with other dudes, right? Like see how they tick, see what their thought process is, and for vice versa. So, for us, we're just going to get our work in. Hopefully those guys get back as healthy as possible, and then we'll roll from there and just kind of take the next swing that comes with it.
You mentioned them knowing what they want to run. What do you like about what they do in terms of the running game?
Well, I think I like the definitive rules, right? Like football is a game of rules, not only for officials' sakes, but protections and run game and such. There's not much gray area, so you don't have to think. Like if you can eliminate as much thinking as possible, you're going to have that inherently thinking throughout a play, but when you can kind of just let your fundamentals run free and you have answers for stuff. So they're giving us answers to things that we might see, different fronts or different checks to get into, which I think is a great thing to have.
You like what you see from Travis?
Love what I see from Travis. The guy runs, and he's always smiling. I don't know what it is. He's a young guy. Always smiling. It's good to see.
Anton said you've been a big help to him, on the board and everything. What's that kind of relationship been like, and how important is it to you to kind of pass it on to him?
Listen, I think you lose mobility as you get older. Football is a very frustrating game in which you learn to, by the time you really learn to appreciate it, you can't quite do the things you used to anymore. And it's just a circular thing in time where it's the older guys saying, don't blink because it'll end, and the young guys thinking, kick rocks, old guy, and like, my body feels great, and so on and so forth. And, I'm sitting here at year 10 remembering older guys telling me how fast this thing's going, and me going through my first training camp thinking these days never end, right? So just with that time, you've accrued a lot of football, you see stuff, and most of the time it's just continue what you're doing. Don't second guess yourself, right? You have so many tools. You have the keys to the castle, man. Like, you are such a talented player, and that doesn't only go for him, it goes for a lot of the guys. And for me, I'm just trying to give the guys confidence to go out and play, get them in the right position, and then hopefully able to do my job to a certain extent.
Yardage and goal line has been a focus of this team moving ahead after last season. So what do you bring to that equation, and seeing it out here for the first time, where can this team make strides there?
Well, I think, you can only do so much short yardage goal line while you're practicing against your own guys, right? Like, you have to balance between getting those reps where there is a certain violence and physicality to it, but you also want to have guys be able to play on Sundays or in the ensuing practices. So I think that's when coach has these few days where we do that, and we take those seriously, and then I'm just banking reps and mentally, and then understanding that when push comes to shove and we have these opportunities in the game, take advantage of them, and then you work on them. Like, hopefully you're better in short yardage goal line at the end of the year than you are at the beginning. Not to say you want to be terrible at the beginning of the year, but I think coaches have to balance a delicate line, and ours do that pretty well.
What have you seen from the defensive lineman ahead of you, Mason?
Yeah, I think Mason's got such a bright future in this league. He's got the physical tools, of course, but you can see that he's got these spurts of just, not only athletic power, but he's really working some moves. And I think your first year is such a monumental growing experience in the football realm, right? Like, so it'll just be fun to see him and work with him as these weeks progress, see him get better as a football player, immersed in this Nielsen defense, and come out and hopefully have a celebration of those moments on Sundays. And the other guy is great too. Unfortunately, he's been out with an injury for a bit, the other LSU guy. But I really like him. I really do. I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. If he gets back healthy, it'll be a fun guy to watch. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.